Mbappe, Thuram, LeBron James, a shot at history.
Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of Game Time with Jack and Josh. I'm your host, Jack White, joined by Joshua Aluabaro and our special guest, Noah Friedman, and hopefully making a guest appearance as well, our athletic director, Mr. Lightsey. And we're here to discuss the Super Bowl everyone didn't want, the Eagles versus the Chiefs. I know plenty of people out there who just wanted the Super Bowl to be canceled. We were hoping for
both teams lose.
Yeah, an interstellar intervention with a meteor or comet of some sort crashing into the Earth, like the dinosaur days. And honestly, that would have been preferable for me personally. But we got to get through. We got to get through Sunday, and we all know, as much as we say we hate this game, we're gonna watch it. So we're here at Game Time to give you our predictions. So I'll turn it over to our guest Noah first to discuss what he's looking forward to in this game.
Well, let me just say this is the game I wanted. And talking about the Chiefs real quick, because I got a lot of opinions on the Eagles. But I'll say that I decided, I think, probably the third quarter of Chiefs-Bills that I wanted the Chiefs. And the main reason for that was because I know I've seen this game before, and I saw how close it was last time. I know from watching twice, what people forget is we've beat the Chiefs since that last Super Bowl. We played them last season in Kansas City, and we beat them before the collapse. So I've seen Jalen Hurts outplay Patrick Mahomes twice. And with the Bills, I feel like they're not as good as the Chiefs, but there's a little bit more uncertainty. I could see Allen going out and playing the game of his life, whereas Mahomes, he's a winner, and I don't deny that, but you know what he's going to do, and I believe that we have the goods to go overwhelm them and overcome Patrick Mahomes and Andy Ried. So I will just say I did want the Chiefs, and as an Eagles fan, this is the game that I was looking for.
Well, you're right. We have seen Jalen Hurts outplay Mahomes a couple times, and that's been an interesting topic of conversation throughout the season. As Jalen Hurts has been more of a game manager this season, and if we take a look here, there's only been one game since Week 5 in which Jalen Hurts, had over 30 pass attempts. Prior to Week 5, that was their bye week. They had 2 games of 30-plus pass attempts, and he had multiple interceptions in both games. So from that transition, they start to run the ball at the highest percentage of any team in the NFL. Saquon, a 2,000-yard season, one of the best running back seasons we've ever seen. And honestly, I think he can carry the Eagles to victory this game. They don't even need Jalen Hurts to be at his best. But, Noah, let me ask you this. If Saquon is bottled up, can Jalen Hurts throw the Eagles to victory against the Chiefs?
I truly, watching him week in and week out for, I think, 4 years now, 100% believe that he can. For one, I think it's unlikely Saquon gets bottled up. But let's even say he has a modest day. Let's say it comes down to a final drive. I truly think that in that 2022 Super Bowl, whoever had the ball last was going to win the game. Bradbury's, I'll call it questionable. We don't need to get into it. That holding call made it so Jalen did not get his chance. But I truly think that if it comes down to a final drive, Jalen can make the play. And what I point to is when you look at what I believe to be the biggest play of the NFC Championship game, which ended up as a blowout. But 2 minutes before halftime, we had a 4th and 5 from the 50-yard line and decided to go for it. We were only up by 2 at the time. It was 14-12. Jalen stepped up against the blitz, threw a 30-yard dart to A.J. Brown, and we ended up, after fumble and then another score, went into halftime up 2 scores. And then from that point on, it was all Eagles. So when he needs to make the throw, he makes the throw. When he needs to run for the first down, he will. I have complete trust in him.
Well, we're glad that you at least have faith in him. And we're really going to see it's interesting. I was watching First Take earlier this week, and they were talking about what conversations will Jalen Hurts be in if he wins the Super Bowl. And could he be in a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson conversation? And I think the answer is no. But at the same time, if he could throw the Eagles' way to victory, like he almost did 2 years ago. I think that he's a lot closer to the top than people may seem. But he just has to go out there and prove that if Saquon is bottled up, that he can put the team on his back. And it's interesting that the Eagles have such a rush-centered offense, but the Chiefs really haven't. And we've noticed that since Pacheco came back, he hasn't been as effective, which has led to Kareem Hunt taking over that number one running back role. And Kareem Hunt is their leading rusher in the postseason, played 2 games, and only has 108 yards. So they've been really pass heavy, and they haven't really gotten a lot of offensive yards, but they've taken advantage of opportunities. So we're joined now by our special guest, athletic director, Mr. Lightsey. So Lightsey, we want to ask you, what are your keys for both teams to win this game?
For the Eagles, they've got to have ball control. They cannot turn the ball over, and they've got to get out to a lead. I think those are the 3 things that they need to do. If they can get out to a lead, I think they have a better offense. I don't think Kansas City can keep up with them. What they don't want to do is give the ball back to Kansas City with a chance to win the game, because then you know what's going to happen. For Kansas City, I think it all comes down to coaching and quarterback play. They'll be prepared. I think if they get any type of momentum, then they'll roll with it.
Yeah, that key word, momentum. And there were such big momentum swings in the last Super Bowl we saw between these two teams. Namely, we can think of Jalen Hurts' fumble, which Nick Bolton ended up returning for a touchdown. That kind of swung the whole. Up until that point, the Eagles had really controlled the line of scrimmage and had even aired it out to A.J. Brown. And they were up, and then that touchdown really just kind of initiated the Chiefs' comeback. So, Josh, what? You don't like this matchup either, but, I mean, you got to admit, winning a three-peat for Patrick Mahomes would be something very, very special. Do you think that this could put Patrick Mahomes in the GOAT conversation compared to Tom Brady?
Yeah, like you said, I don't like this matchup. I really think it should have been Baltimore, Detroit. For that should have been this year. But, Mark Andrews doesn't know how to catch a football, and Goff just doesn't know how to handle pressure. But when you mentioned Mahomes and his 3P, I mean, that is historic. I mean, no team has done it before. This would definitely put him up with Brady, of course. Brady, Joe Montana. I mean, because this would be the first time anyone's ever done it to win 3 in a row. That is remarkable. I do think this will put him in the GOAT debate. I don't think it'll mean that he is the GOAT, but it'll just put him. He'll put his foot in the door of being in the GOAT conversation if he pulls it off against the Eagles, which I hope he honestly doesn't, because I'm tired of seeing Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Ried. Because I mean, we're going to see 3 hours of Mahomes throwing it to Kelce, Taylor Swift, and Andy Ried saying "bundlerooski" during advertisements. So, it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be fun to watch. But honestly, I said this earlier. I hope both teams lose. So
yeah, unfortunately, that can't happen. But Mr. Lightsey brought up a good point about matchups. And Noah, one of the key matchups that I've been looking at is this Chiefs defense versus Saquon Barkley and the Eagles offensive line. So obviously, you've been an Eagles fan and you've been watching their entire season. So how do you think Saquon will handle everything the Chiefs front seven will throw at him? How do you think that'll play out?
I really, in that aspect, I have no concerns. Like what Mr. Lightsey said about not turning over the ball, that I do think is probably the biggest key to the game, because that's been the formula all year. Is our defense causes a ton of turnovers with Zach Bond and our safeties getting picks, and Jalen just since the bye week has kept the ball completely safe. So that's been the key to winning. But I have no concerns really on this front. Is he going to run for 200 like he did multiple times against the Rams? No, I don't think so. But I think he'll definitely top 100. And we have a guy, I don't know if you guys know, I don't know if his name is like in league circles outside of Philadelphia, Jeff Stoutland. He's the Eagles offensive line coach. He's been there since Andy Ried was the coach, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. So he's been there, the one I'd say consistent piece of the franchise, along with Howie Roseman for the last 2 decades, and he is a phenomenal coach. He's turned around the careers of Mekhi Becton. He brought Mailata into the league and turned him into one of the best offensive linemen in the league. Lane Johnson's career speaks for himself. Cam Jurgens is playing at a Kelce-like level this season. And then Saquon's healthy, which is really the biggest thing. So I see no reason why it's any different on Sunday than it has been all year.
You make some very good points. I did not know the name of the Eagles' offensive coordinator, but obviously his work speaks for itself. And you mentioned the offensive line. So, Mr. Lightsey, how do you think this game in the trenches will be played out? Because it's been very noteworthy throughout the season how the Chiefs have struggled in pass protection and sometimes running the ball, and the Eagles are known for having one of the best offensive lines. So, what do you think will happen in the trenches battle on Sunday?
I think Philadelphia's defensive line is going to be key to stopping Kansas City. They've got to not just pressure him, but they've got to get him to the ground. If they get him to the ground, we've seen Mahomes get rattled in the past, and that's as far as the offensive line goes for the Eagles. I mean, it's the best in football. I think there's three things that they're going to help with. They're going to help with Saquon, obviously. I think people sleep on Jalen Hurts' ability to run, and I think Spags will have a defensive plan set up, but that's not going to stop the Eagles from running the ball. I also think Hurts is going to have a big day throwing the ball. I think those wide receivers, they're going to have to commit to trying to stop the run, and I think both Brown and Smith go off, and I think Goddard will have a big day as well.
Yeah, interesting you bring up Goddard because I just read in an ESPN article that the Chiefs actually have the worst defense against tight ends in the league. They give up an average of 8.8 yards per target, which is the worst in the league. I do think Goddard could be a big factor on Sunday, especially if they double A.J. Brown or put in special packages that in disguise coverages to try and exploit Jalen Hurts as a passer. So, Josh, what do you think? What do you think Jalen Hurts' ability as a passer will be on Sunday?
I think he's going to have to be mobile, I think, because, they're going to try and do anything they can to stop him. The blitz, you saw how he did against the Commanders. He was able to get out of the blitz, throw 30 yards down the field. I think, he has to be mobile. Saquon has to be mobile. They have to – because, they're going to anticipate that Jalen's going to have Saquon on the ball a fair amount. So they got to – essentially got to be unpredictable. They can't be predictable because then the Chiefs can just swallow them up and then force mistakes like how we saw in 2023. So I think that's the main thing Jalen has to do. He has to be mobile. He has to be unpredictable, and the O-line has to also stay on their toes to prevent any shortcomings.
Agreed, and I agree with all you guys about Jalen Hurts. I do think he will have a big day throwing the ball. I do think Saquon will get his, but I think the Eagles will gain a lot of yards. The question is, can they capitalize on these opportunities in the red zone? Can they avoid turnovers, avoid missing on third and fourth down conversions, Jake Elliott's been inconsistent this season. Can he start hitting some field goals? So but I do think that Jalen Hurts has been a very efficient passer this season. He's completed 69% of his passes, only 5 interceptions on the season. His 66 QBR is good for 10th in the league. So he's been efficient when called upon, but in a higher volume, we've really yet to see since week 4 what his capabilities are. And I just wanted to point out some trends for this game. The AFC and NFC have won 29. Each have won 29 of the 58 Super Bowls, so we're dead even. We obviously know that Mahomes is going for the first three-peat in NFL history. And what's also interesting is that Jalen Hurts is the first ever quarterback to return to the Super Bowl after losing his first appearance. And finally, underdogs are 11-5 against the spread in the last 16 Super Bowls, with the Chiefs currently being favored by 1.5. So, with all that being said, I think it's time to ask you guys what your score predictions are. We'll start with you, Noah. What do you think is going to play out?
Look, I'm I'm reluctant to give an exact score prediction. I will say I truly think the Eagles by double digits. Do I think it's going to be what it was against Washington? No, I don't. Mahomes is too good for that. But that being said, I've watched Mahomes in the Super Bowl struggle, and I've watched the Chiefs struggle, and I've watched Andy Reid's time management struggle throughout his entire coaching tenure, at least the time I've been alive, and hearing about that certainly from his Philly days and seeing it in Kansas City. So they are not immortal, and I think the Eagles are going to prove that. Is it going to be a blowout? No, but I think it's probably a comfortable 10, 13-point win for the Eagles, where sort of midway through the fourth quarter, you start to hand the ball off to Saquon and really wind down the clock, which the Eagles are capable of winding down the clock and ending a game like that. So I feel a comfortable 10-13 double-digit win coming.
And honestly, they could probably do that at the start of the game and still probably get a double-digit win. Mr. Lightsey, what is your pick for the game this weekend?
All right, I'm going to give you a score. I am Noah is an Eagles fan. I think that needs to be stated. I am not an Eagles fan, and I cannot stand the Chiefs. I grew up in San Diego. I'm a Chargers fan, so I really hate the Chiefs. But I also despise the Eagles and the fan base because they're just loud and they win a lot. However, I think in this game, Philadelphia will get out to a big lead in the first half, and I think Kansas City will attempt to make a comeback, and there'll be all kinds of talk about Mahomes and Brady and the New England versus Atlanta game, but it won't. I don't think it'll happen. I think Devonta Smith, if you look at the numbers he's had against Kansas City, he's averaging over 6 catches a game, over 90 yards a game against Kansas City. I think he's been quiet in the playoffs. He's going to have a big day. And I like Philadelphia 31-21 over the Chiefs.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Devonta Smith is obviously he's put together a very productive year, but as you mentioned, has been quiet in the playoffs, and he'd be a wide receiver one on many of the NFL teams in the league. So it's really when Jalen Hurts does have to throw the football, it is really at his leisure to have 2 wide receiver ones in that room. So Josh, transitioning to you, what is your prediction for the game?
Well, in a perfect world, it would be a meteorite hitting the stadium. But no, that won't happen. But I also like the Chiefs. And I don't hate the Eagles, but I would have rather had a different team. I mean, I don't like seeing rematches. I mean, I want parity. But I think at the start of the game, it might seem because Mahomes is dark magic. I mean, what can we do about it? But this isn't David versus Goliath, right? The Eagles are capable of beating the Chiefs. I wholeheartedly agree with Noah and Mr. Lightsey on this. I think that it's going to be a lot closer, though, because I feel like there's going to be, we've seen it all season long with some outrageous calls. I mean, we started the season against Baltimore. I think it's going to be extremely close. I'm going to say 20. Yeah, it's going to be 34-31. I think it's going to be really close. I think Saquon's going to have 2 touchdowns. He's going to throw for 1 to Devonta Smith, which I agree with Lightsey when he's saying Devonta's going to have a big day. I think Mahomes and Kelce are going to that duo is going to match up for about 2 touchdowns, and then Mahomes is going to run in for 1. Something's going to happen like goofy in the third or fourth quarter. But as long as Zebras don't do anything stupid or help Mahomes anyway, I think the Eagles are going to be able to eke out a win against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Saquon does have a big day, and I look at this stat here in the playoffs. The past 2 running backs to face the Chiefs, Joe Mixon and James Cook. Joe Mixon averaged 5 yards a carry, and during the regular season, he was at 4.0. And James Cook averaged 6.5 yards per carry, albeit on limited carries, and during the regular season, he was at 4.9. So I think that Chiefs front 7 is vulnerable, and if it's vulnerable, then this gives Philadelphia a way better chance to win because the Chiefs don't really have many advantages across the board against the Eagles roster-wise. If you look at this game from a pure roster standpoint, I think that Philly should be favored by 4 or 5. If this were not the Super Bowl and Mahomes wasn't here for a third consecutive time, I think that if this were a regular season game, Philly should be favored because they are the better team. But like you said, it's Mahomes. It's always Mahomes. And Andy Ried is the better coach than Nick Sirianni, so they do have the advantage there. But I don't think that'll be enough. The Chiefs do start fast. They score early, but not much after that. I think the Eagles win in a blowout, 34-17. Jalen Hurts gets his first Super Bowl, and the Giants front office has no desire to live anymore.
They're pulling their hair out if Saquon immediately gets a ring after leaving New York. Because I think if he does that, they'll prove that just leaving New York is the best decision you can ever make in your life. But, we can't forget the Super Bowl as well. We can't forget the halftime show.
Oh, yeah.
There's Lamar. I'm expecting to hear, they not like us for 500 times during the halftime show. But, alongside the Super Bowl, it's also a cultural thing in America. Super Bowl is the biggest game is the biggest yearly game in the country. So, what do you think? Most people, we're all here for the football, right? But some people might be watching the game for the advertisements. So, what do you think about what are your advertisement predictions? Just to throw some trivia and some fun in there.
Okay. You're actually absolutely right because my sister's one of those people. She loves the Super Bowl advertisements. It's one of her favorite time of the year. And she always loves the halftime show. So, do you guys remember that one Kanye West commercial where he spent all of his money on the ad and then he didn't actually film the commercial?
Yeah. I think it was 2019, Super Bowl 53.
That's the one I keep thinking about. Predictions-wise, I think we'll see a lot of celebrity appearances on some major networks. I think back to that what was that T-Mobile commercial a couple of years ago. I forgot who was in that one. But there's gonna be a lot of celebrities, a lot of big names, a lot of big brands. I think we'll see a lot of entertaining stuff. So if you're not a football fan, I'm sure you'll be entertained by the advertisements. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm here for the football. I'm taking my bathroom breaks and my snack breaks during commercials. Don't really care about the halftime show. I care about my Philadelphia Eagles. So that's my main focus.
I agree. I'm here for the football. I think that there will be some. I don't mind the commercials; so they're fine. I think there'll be some really good ones. Progressive Insurance seems to come to mind. They'll probably have some creative things. I'm sure we'll have a lot of celebrities using this new all over deodorant, Mando. They seem to be advertising all over ESPN, and Marshawn Lynch is now spraying his crotch with the stuff. So I don't know if they'll have something creative, but I'm interested in the football. I will not watch the halftime show most likely. I'll get up and have some snacks and get ready for the second half.
Well, thank you so much, you guys, for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. You guys have a wealth of ball knowledge, and you contributed a lot to the conversation. We're so lucky to have two outstanding guests. Noah Friedman, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
And Mr. Lightsey, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Thank you. This has been Game Time with Jack and Josh. See you next time.